On the first morning of December 1948, a beachgoer in Adelaide, South Australia, noticed something peculiar near the seawall on Somerton Beach. A man was slumped in the sand, his head resting against the low stone structure, his legs extended, one crossed neatly over the other. He appeared to be asleep, dressed sharply in a clean suit despite the warm weather. His polished shoes were oddly clean for someone lying in the sand, and there were no signs of distress. But something was off. The man wasn't breathing. In fact, he was dead. Local police arrived quickly, and the case instantly puzzled them. There were no visible injuries on the man's body. No blood, no bruising, no evidence of trauma. He appeared healthy, around 40 to 45 years old, well-built, with a clean-shaven face and short, neatly combed hair. More strangely, all identifying labels on his clothing had been removed. Inside his pockets were a used bus ticket, a train ticket to Henley Beach that hadn't been used, an aluminum comb, a half-empty pack of chewing gum, a box of matches, and a pack of Army Club cigarettes, but with 7 Kensitas brand cigarettes inside, suggesting they were swapped. No wallet, no papers, no ID, nothing to tell the world who he was. The body was taken to the city morgue. The autopsy deepened the mystery. The man's organs were in unusual condition. His spleen was 3 times the normal size and congested with blood, and his liver was enlarged. His stomach contained a small amount of food, including a pasty. There was blood in the stomach and signs of internal bleeding. These symptoms were consistent with some kinds of poison, but no foreign substances could be detected in his system. No trace of barbiturates, no sign of known poisons. The pathologist concluded the cause of death was heart failure, likely brought on by poisoning, but couldn't confirm which one. This suggested the use of a rare or extremely fast-acting agent, possibly one that degraded quickly, such as digitalis or strophanthine. But no hard evidence emerged. With no name, no ID, and no missing person reports matching the man's description, the police launched an unusual investigation. Weeks later, a breakthrough arrived. A tiny fob pocket, hidden in the waistband of the man's trousers, held a scrap of paper with the words, "Tamam Shud." The phrase, printed in elegant Persian script, translated roughly to ended or finished. It was soon discovered to be torn from the final page of a copy of the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam, a Persian poetry book that muses on mortality, fate, and the fleeting nature of life. The phrase seemed like a final note, a farewell, possibly even a suicide message. But where was the book? In a strange twist, a local man turned in a copy of the Rubaiyat he had found in the back seat of his car, parked near Somerton Beach on the night of the man's death. The torn-out final page matched the scrap of paper in the dead man's pocket. Inside the back cover of the book were several items that pushed the case into near-fictional territory. A local telephone number, a string of random capital letters, 5 lines total, written in pencil, possibly a code, and a second number possibly connected to the military. The phone number led to a young woman named Jo Thompson, a nurse who lived in Glenelg, just a few blocks from where the man's body had been found. She was interviewed, and when shown the man's death mask, a plaster cast made of his head and upper chest, she seemed startled. Some witnesses claimed she almost fainted, but she denied knowing him. She said she had once owned a copy of the Rubaiyat, but had given it away years earlier to a man named Alfred Boxall. Police initially believed the Somerton Man might be Boxall, until Boxall turned up alive with his copy of the book still intact, final page included. The cipher found in the book was sent to experts for analysis, including naval intelligence and military codebreakers, but no definitive pattern was discovered. The characters may have been a personal shorthand, an emotional outpouring, or a complex cipher, but the lack of a key and the short length of the note made decoding impossible. Theories swirled. Was this man a spy, a secret lover, a deserter, or simply someone who wanted to disappear completely? Over time, more clues emerged. A suitcase was found at Adelaide railway station, left in the cloakroom the day before the man's body was discovered. It contained items of clothing, a screwdriver, scissors, a shaving kit, and an odd stenciling brush, like those used by sailors or people marking cargo. The name tags had been removed from most items, but one tie bore the name T. Keen. Authorities assumed it was a fake name, planted to mislead them. The suitcase linked to the man by a repair on the heel of one shoe, using an uncommon material. But no breakthrough came. Nothing linked the man to any known identity. The mystery grew into a national obsession. The lack of identity, the odd circumstances, and the post-war context stirred up spy theories. Australia had been involved in intelligence operations during World War II, and Soviet espionage was ramping up globally. Some believed the Somerton Man had been poisoned by a foreign agent. Others speculated he had taken his own life, deliberately erasing his identity after heartbreak. Still others insisted it was a setup, that someone had dumped the body and tried to make it look natural. One theory, gaining traction over the years, involved Jo Thompson more directly. Her son, Robin Thompson, born a few years before the Somerton Man's death, bore striking physical resemblances to the unknown man. Both had a rare genetic feature, a missing lateral incisor and similarly shaped ears. Some theorized that Robin was the biological son of the Somerton Man, and that Jo had concealed their relationship out of shame or fear. Jo herself had connections to the military and spoke Russian, adding further fuel to the espionage speculation. Despite periodic resurgences in public interest, the case remained cold. The man's body was buried in 1949 in Adelaide's West Terrace Cemetery, beneath a headstone reading only, "Here lies the unknown man who was found at Somerton Beach." His possessions were preserved, his face immortalized in plaster, and the cipher was periodically revisited by amateur sleuths. But nothing changed for decades. He remained an enigma, Australia's greatest mystery man. Then, in 2011, physicist and Professor Derek Abbott took up the case. He partnered with forensic experts and genealogists to revisit the body and the DNA. After years of advocacy, the South Australian government finally exhumed the body in 2021. Advances in forensic science meant even tiny remnants, like hair embedded in the man's death mask, could offer valuable genetic data. Working with American genealogist Colleen Fitzpatrick, Abbott compared DNA profiles against genealogy databases. They built an enormous family tree using thousands of third and fourth cousins, slowly triangulating potential candidates. Eventually, in 2022, they identified a likely match, Carl Charles Webb, a man born in 1905 in Footscray, Melbourne. Webb had been an instrument maker and electrical engineer with a history of depression and a failed marriage. Webb's marriage to Dorothy Robertson had ended years earlier, and she had filed for divorce in 1951, citing abandonment. There was evidence Webb had left Melbourne without telling anyone. His family hadn't reported him missing. He had no children, no known profession at the time of his disappearance, and few friends who stayed in touch. His identification was confirmed by multiple lines of genetic evidence, as well as matches to relatives. In addition, the name T. Keen found in the suitcase turned out to be a distant connection through marriage, a name linked to his brother-in-law. But even as the man's name was revealed, the mystery remained. How did Charles Webb die? No toxicology reports remained from 1948 that could be retested with modern equipment. Did he poison himself, or was he poisoned by someone else? Why had he come to Adelaide, and why Somerton Beach of all places? Was Jo Thompson truly uninvolved, or had she known him more intimately than she let on? The answers may never be known. Yet Charles Webb's identification closed a chapter that had baffled generations. For decades, school children had been taught about the Somerton Man. Writers and filmmakers had speculated wildly. Genetic genealogy, a tool barely imaginable in 1948, had finally offered a name. Even so, what drove Webb to remove his clothing labels, to carry a line from a Persian poem that signaled finality, to die alone on a quiet beach, remains unclear. His story, while rooted in sadness, resonated globally. People projected their own ideas onto him, as a spy, a tragic romantic, a suicide, a secret father. In the end, the Somerton Man's greatest mystery may not be who he was, but why he died the way he did. If you want to hear more stories like these every single day, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications.